welcome to everyone who is visiting us either live or on the replays. We are glad that you are here. And I'll be looking down at my notes. I've been practicing with a teleprompter and it's still not working, so I'm going to use paper again. I wanted to let you know that I am Robin Forster with Feel So Alive and Feel So Alive Informed. And if this is your first time joining us, our program runs about 30 minutes, just so you have kind of an idea of how this works. I pull in 2 different pre-recorded interviews from 2 different guests, and usually one is a healer and one is a business person. And both of our guests suggest and share with us a little bit about their professional background, how they got to where they are now, and also some tips and suggestions, techniques, things that we can use now right away to help feel better or be more productive in our business, you know, those kinds of things. And it's always different with every guest, which is really awesome. So you may be wondering why this program. And I know that it's a little hard to find bite-sized pieces of information that we need as business owners and for those of us who are just trying to take care of our bodies and our families. So this is my way of giving back and doing these quick little interviews. The healer is usually about 10 minutes-ish, and the business professionals are usually about 10 minutes-ish. So I hope you enjoy our program today. But before we get started, our world, as we all know, is currently in a lot of pain. And would you join me in taking 30 seconds just to lower or close your eyes? And if you're driving and listening to this, please do it in a different way, okay? Be safe, that's the most important thing. But what I want us all to do is to pause and to send out good vibes, whether it's a prayer or a blessing or white light, whatever it is that you're comfortable with, but to send it out to our planet and for everyone who lives on the planet. So I hope that you will join me now. And that's our 30 seconds. Hope you enjoyed my timer going off. So next, I would like to bring in our first speaker. And we are recording. Excellent. Hi, I'm Robin Forster with Feel So Alive and Feel So Alive Informed. And I do this very fun program twice a month. And today I want to tell you about the guest that I have. So Sandra, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Excellent. So Sandra, let me tell you a little bit about her background. She has been on a spiritual journey. Oh, and I'm reading this just to make sure that I get it all correct. She's been on a spiritual journey since she was a child when she first saw angels surrounding her bed. Later in life, she began to see auras, and then she stepped into her empathic skills and into releasing past lives that no longer served the person she was working with. She also is able to actually feel what is happening in other people's bodies, minds, and emotions. So she channels things, mostly new ideas and procedures, and they come to her completely finished. That sounds very awesome. So Sandra, I know that there's some other things on your bio, but I have a feeling that you're probably going to talk about some of those things. So let's go ahead and get started. And my first question to you is, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, as Robin said, when I was a child, I talked to angels when I went to sleep. And when I told my mother, she freaked out and said I wasn't seeing angels, that only prophets or crazy people saw angels, and I was neither. So I stopped seeing them, and I just turned off whatever gifts I had. And it wasn't until I was a young adult that I started spontaneously having one vision over and over when I was busy doing things like at work. I was a restaurant manager, and I was wandering around looking at what was happening, and boom, I was in a whole different place. And it felt like I was there for 15 or 20 minutes, but it was microseconds before I flipped back into this reality. And that happened a couple more times, when I was driving down the road, when I was in the store and grocery shopping. They weren't when I was meditating and suddenly had a vision. So that sent me on a quest to see if I was crazy or what. And that journey sent me to learning tarot and astrology. And once I got studied it enough and got was able to do it, I found that I wasn't. I would look at what was on the astrology chart or what the cards said, and then I would just start channeling because I could hear what the person's limiting beliefs were and what was driving them in different directions that was opposed to what they were saying they wanted to know about. I never did prophecy because I don't believe in prophecy. I believe that we create our own reality with our own belief systems, and what you believe is what you're going to attract. So and my goal has always been to empower people with what I do. And when I found that people got stuck to me, like they couldn't make a decision until they checked with me to check the cards or astrology, I was unwilling to continue. So I stopped the astrology, and I occasionally will do it for friends or, if somebody refers me, but I stopped all of that and just started studying. And that's kind of where I went. I've studied a host of things, Reiki and theta healing and feng shui and neurolinguistic programming. And where I'm at right now is several months ago, maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago, I heard that it was time to integrate everything and come from a holistic place. And that's pretty much what I do with business management. So my background is 10 years working in different forms of business management at different companies. I've owned and operated 6 different companies. Only one of them failed. I got a master's degree and a teaching certificate, and I spent 23 years teaching at the university level. And finally retired, and I'm doing what I love.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
my business model and what I propose for people is a business model. And it works very nicely with healers, but it works with anyone in any business, whether you're making nails, or manufacturing nails, or you're painting houses, or whatever it is knowing what your spiritual values are. And for example, mine are unconditional divine love, compassion, and integrity. And I also have a value of everything that I do adding value. How is it that I'm adding value? And whatever I'm doing, whether I'm giving a talk, whether I'm working with a client in a healing situation, regardless of where I'm at, how am I adding value to the situation? It is my belief that if people did that as a business model, we'd have a whole different world. And when I was teaching at the university level in business management, my students would always say, "That's not possible. That's fantasy." Because people don't operate off that. They operate off of greed, other. And I completely agree with them. I also would say that we really do attract what we most are, our beliefs and our actions. If we're walking our talk, we have a set of beliefs and we're walking our talk. That's what we're most going to attract. So while those greedy, dishonest people are out there, what I've discovered for myself as a businesswoman is that I attract people that have similar values to mine, that I can trust and that want to add value and do their best, and that, have really loving, warm hearts. So that's the business model that I try to help other healers work with. As healers, we have we're given a sacred right to really work with people, their whole psyches, their family history. They're placing themselves in our hands with trust. So I feel that it's even more important that we have a business model that matches that trust that they're giving us to help them with the issues that are in their life.
Wow. Yes, that would be wonderful. So it kind of sounds like you're talking about heart-centered business model.
Yes.
And speaking of that and giving back value and looking at the time, what are some tips, some things that you can suggest to people to feel better? And maybe if you want to throw one or two quick little business tips in there, but mostly about healing and how do you come from your heart when you're trying to market or run a business or
Right. Well, the business tips that I would give, two of them, I'll do that first and then I'll give the tip. The business tips I would say are you really do have to know who your market is and what you're going for. That's critical. And then you have to value yourself, what you bring to the table. And in particular with spiritual work, a lot of spiritual healers don't value themselves enough to charge what it's worth. I've spent 43 years learning what I have and honing those abilities and skills. 43 years is a long time that I bring to the table. So it's worth a lot. And so I look for customers that are ready to do the work and ready to make a commitment and ready to empower themselves with the tools that I give them and not put all the onus on me. So
oh,
it's
makes sense.
knowing yourself, knowing your value, and knowing who your customer is, and listening to that and giving them what they need. So that I think is crucial in any business at all times.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And what are a couple of tips for those folks who are wanting to feel better? What is something that you can take home and apply?
The main thing that I have been telling people for a long time now is breathe. And it sounds really silly to breathe, but we are in such a stressful point in our history. And but even before the pandemic and all the election nonsense, we lived a really high stress life. And stress causes illness. It causes unwellness in in our emotional body, our mental body, our physical bodies. So when you're in stress, you're in the sympathetic nervous system, and that your adrenals are going, your stress is going, and all you have to do is think thoughts to go into that sympathetic nerve system. So you can use the breath to take yourself into the parasympathetic, which is calmness. From that state of calm and relaxation, you're better able to make better decisions, set your goals right, feel good, sleep better, eat better, all of those things. So it's really, really simple. I get up in the morning and I usually do 27 of them with my mala. But you don't have to do that many. And then whenever I'm feeling stressed of the day, I do three or four. And all it is fully breathing in for a count of four and then blowing and through your nose. So you breathe in and then you breathe out for eight through your mouth. And if you're not in public, I like to say ah and just relax and feel the tension really. And you do it continuously in a continuous sound. And you can do 2 4. And if it's daytime, I like to do 2 4 rather than 4 8. 4 8 will calm you down a lot and maybe want you to go take a nap. So you breathe in, two, out, 2 3 4, in, two, out, 2 3 4, and a lot slower. But you do continuous. And three or four during the day of those will relax you. In the morning, I do 27 just to make sure I'm approaching my day from a clear headed, relaxed place. And then sometimes, if it's safe, I'll do 12 during the day if I've gotten stressed. So it's
Excellent.
simple, it's free, and it works.
Oh, that is excellent. And speaking of your day, I know that you have another appointment coming up. And so I would just like to thank you very much for your time and for sharing your tips, both business and breathing is such a key. It's just, I find myself sometimes standing at my desk almost holding my breath. And it's like, why am I doing that? That doesn't really work for me. So I appreciate you sharing that technique.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
that was really fun. I enjoyed interviewing her, as you can tell. And Sandra, just to let you all know, we met networking in Eugene, Oregon, and I've been enjoying learning more about her and getting to know her a little bit better. And the image in my mind of seeing angels around your bed when you're a child is just fascinating. I think that's pretty exciting that she's been doing this for 43 years. But next, I want to tell you about an event that's happening tonight. So let's go ahead and go to that slide. Excellent, it worked. I'm so excited. So what's happening tonight is that Thursday, January 14th, so if you're seeing this on the replay, know that that's the date, and it's at 6 p.m. That is Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And Rick Seymour is the man who's putting this on, and he is a very, very successful businessman. He has been a super athlete, and he is talking about, and this is for men and all those people who care about men, the top 10 killers and the 95% that you have control over, and what the simple fix is. And Rick is just amazing to listen to, so I hope that you all will come and join us. If you have any questions, I hope you can read this down at the bottom. It is a Zoom meeting. I've put the bit.ly link in here so that you can find it easily. And if that doesn't work, please feel free to get in touch with me, and I will give you the information. So, moving on with our program. Our next guest is Cathy Goodwin, and she has a very unique business. I think you're going to enjoy this. She is a former marketing professor, and now she works with businesses. She is a strategic storyteller. And you know how sometimes we all try to tell our story and we're kind of missing the most important things and not really directed to our target audience. And she helps businesses do all of that so it comes out right. So let's listen to our interview with her. Here we go, and we are recording. Hi, I'm Robin Forster with Feel So Alive and Feel So Alive Informed. And my guest today is Cathy Goodwin. And Cathy, say hi.
Hi.
Excellent, thanks. And I'm going to share a little bit about Cathy's background, and then we're going to ask her some questions and have her share with us what she does and what we can do to be better business people. Okay, Cathy is a former marketing professor who has who has lived all over North America and believes that having and telling your story gives you, the business owner, a marketing advantage. And telling your story is foundational, and telling the right story for your unique services and offers can increase your marketing effectiveness 10 times when it resonates with your ideal audience. Oh, and I'm looking down if you're wondering what's going on because I want to make sure I get this correct, even though I'm making some mistakes. Cathy is currently retired from being a marketing professor and is enjoying working with businesses who want to tell their stories. She, along with her 2 adopted cats, who are not good storytellers, live and work in the Philadelphia area. So, Cathy, if you would tell us a little bit more about yourself. I just did a brief reading of your bio, but tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, well, thank you for the lovely introduction. I started online. I kind of left academia at a certain point. I've been teaching marketing for 20 some odd years, and I wanted to get my hands dirty and really get in there and do what I've been teaching. So I started with a career site because I've been passionate about careers, and I had just written a book on relocation that ties right into careers. That site is still open and does get clients. So to learn to market the site, I studied copywriting, and then people started asking me to help with their websites. And I have been a writer all my life. I have a published book and that was published with a publishing company. I have several books on Amazon that I've written. I've written everything from humor columns to textbook chapters. So I really that well, copywriting was sort of a natural thing for me to be doing. So I got into that and people started asking me to do more. And now I do very little with careers. I'd say 95% of my work is on marketing consulting and copywriting. And I have, as you said, I am a former marketing professor. I am a published author and speaker and sometimes stand-up comedian. And as you said, I've lived all over North America, and now I'm here in Philadelphia, where we're having a blizzard right now with my two cats.
Excellent. Great. Well, that really helps us to understand how you got drawn into where you are now. So that's pretty fun. Okay, so the next question, and you've kind of answered it, but you may want to tell us a little bit more about it, is how did you get drawn into the line of work that you got drawn into? And I think you did pretty good answering that, but then how has it benefited others?
Well, I like to actually get into the question when I teach storytelling and I work with clients. One of the things I do is I like to turn the question into not how did you get started, but what makes you passionate about what you do. So I encourage my clients to turn their origin story into a passion story. And I'll tell you mine. I've been working with clients over the years, and I got so frustrated because they would spend all this time trying to move forward with their marketing, their branding, strengthening their message, and planning, identifying clients, all the challenges of marketing. And I began every copywriting project by asking clients to share three success stories. Once you get those three stories, the copy practically writes itself. And you're really on to what you're supposed to be doing. So I'd also done research when I was in academia. I'd done research and published on metaphors. So I was a natural for me to start looking into storytelling. And storytelling's hot, right? Everybody it talks about it. But I was not happy with what I saw in storytelling. One article title in a business magazine was Bedtime for Business. They were comparing business stories to bedtime stories. I mean, come on, if you think about it, why would you put your clients to sleep? You want to wake them up. You want to energize them. You don't tell them bedtime stories. And then people would come to me and say, well, my guru told me to tell about my mistakes, to be vulnerable, to share my misery. And I knew from my training, my experience, my research, that this advice was just plain wrong. I have a whole section in my storytelling courses, and just about all my courses, I cover this about why this is really bad advice and why being vulnerable almost always will backfire. There are very few people who can get away with telling a story about being vulnerable and have it work for them. So now when I work with business owners, I have a whole different approach to storytelling. It simplifies their marketing. It makes things so much easier. And what we do is we start with your strategy. We don't start with your story and with the arc of the story and the fairy tales. In fact, I have a whole thing on why Cinderella makes a lousy business story. So what I talk about now is we start with what is the challenge? What is the problem you're trying to solve? Maybe you want to differentiate yourself. Maybe you want to explain what you do and clarify because the confused mind doesn't buy. So you want to end the confusion. And then your story fits your purpose. And that's really what I'm about. I've written a book about it that's on Amazon. It's called Grow Your Business One Story at a Time. I've got courses and consulting. And I still do copywriting, but once people get excited about stories and learn how to tell stories that are really going to work for them, they usually want to write their own copy and they just want me to coach them to make it better. So, as an example of one of the ways I've used stories, I worked with a very successful business owner, and she told me she had spent about 3 months trying to nail her branding. And after 3 months, and I did not even want to ask how much she spent in time and money, she got her colors. 3 months and colors. We spent 90 minutes and we nailed her brand. We set up her sales letter and we made some comments about her website all in 90 minutes because we used a story approach. And I have a lot of clients I've worked with who came with a problem that they thought was going to be really difficult and miserable, and we'd have a painful experience working on it. And once we got the story, it got a lot simpler. It even got to be fun most of the time. So that's the way that I like to help clients. I like to keep things simple, and I like to bring in the story component, but not the bedtime story, not the fairy tale, business story.
Fascinating. I had no idea. And those tips and suggestions, you probably saw me looking down and I was trying to write and take notes as quick as I could. So I'm going to have to replay this so I can get, because that, you're absolutely right. You're making that so simple and it can be so easy to get all kind of bound up trying to sort things out, that I really appreciate that. It's like, oh, wow. Um, and I wonder now. This is going to sidetrack us for a little bit, and I didn't even warn you that I was going to ask you this, but so just to let you know, part of what I'm looking at is that I am also into another career in this season of my life, and I was in juvenile corrections for 20 plus years and retired from that, and I'm really enjoying interviewing folks, and I'm all about health and wellness now and aging gracefully, because we all are going to age, hopefully. That's the plan, that we're all going to age. And so I'm wondering, since you've done kind of the same thing I have, you've had a career for a long time, it was fulfilling, you've moved on from that career, taking a lot of those skills, but you're into a different season of your life. And can you share a little bit about what that was like, or how the storytelling fits in, because your story has changed a little bit, or something?
Well, I'm actually working on my next course, which is going to be about pivoting with stories. I have a free ebook on that for people who are interested. And the idea of transition, when you transition, you change your story. For example, I had a client who was working with clients one on one, and then she decided she was going to train others to do what she had done, to be counselors, and that meant a whole new story. That was what we had our consultation on, was how to find a new story, because a lot of times your first story in your first business is about you. And this drives me crazy, because people say, well, talk about how you solved the problem. And I always say, well, when you go to a cardiologist, does he have to have a heart attack to treat you? No, you have a story. And this, when you move on past your first business, a lot of times you need a new story. And that's one of the ways I work with clients, is by helping them find that second story. And my move, actually, I've changed careers so many times over the years that it didn't feel to me like it was a different stage. It just felt like, okay, I've done what I wanted to do in academia. I was successful in research. I'm still being cited in journals. I learned a lot about how to analyze, how to be analytical, how to teach, how to explain things to people and make it simple. And it simply was time to move on. And it was more like the universe was telling me. And I read a really good book by William Bridges, which is a lot of people like and a lot of people don't like, on transition. And he said, most transition is not something you look for. It's not welcome. It's like it comes to you and you say, nope, I got to move. I don't belong here anymore. And it happened at different times in my life, when I had been in corporate life, which was, well, I was a bit of a maverick there. But at some point it was like, no, I don't belong here. I have to move. So that's really the sense that I had. It was really more about following my own intuition and listening to the universe, more than coming up with a story.
Ah,
Who knows? I don't, I might be in a whole different career in the future, but that's what I'm doing, yeah, right now, and I'm enjoying it, and people are responding to it, to what I'm doing, and I really like the idea of shaking people up and introducing things in a new way. I get very frustrated with marketing people who just give you the same old cookie cutter formula. So everything I do is designed to give you a totally new, mind blowing approach to some aspect of marketing.
wow. Cathy, I'm watching the time because I appreciate that you were giving us this time, because that's really kind of you, but I don't want to overstep our welcome. And is there one last tip, short and sweet, that you want to say? Or do you feel like in this amount of time you've gotten out all you can? And
No, we've covered. I could talk forever, but just one quick thing is that when someone asks who your target market is, share your client's backstory. Don't think about the demographics. don't think about your avatar. Think about what is their story. The story has three parts: the problem, the obstacle, and what they've tried. And I have an ebook on that and a whole course. So if people would like to learn more, they can just get my free ebook, which goes into that. I think that's a problem a lot of people struggle with, and I've turned it into a storytelling exercise.
Oh, perfect. Cathy, that is great. I am so excited to go look at that. And I think that we will end the recording now. And I appreciate all of your time. Thank
Well,
you.
I appreciate being here. Thank you so much.
Wasn't that fun? I really enjoyed listening to her, and I'm going to rewrite my story about my client using using Cathy's 3 different ways of doing it. It was just excellent. And I would like to thank you very much for watching us, whether it's live or on the replay. And I'm sorry I couldn't do any shout outs to anyone who's watching right now. I just want to remind you that we're always the second and fourth Thursdays, unless there's a holiday in there. So the next one is going to be January 28th. And please don't forget to go and subscribe on YouTube and also click the bell on YouTube. You can find us on both YouTube and also Facebook at FeelSoAlive. And the MKGP is an abbreviation for marketing group. So I hope that that doesn't throw you. And we look forward to you joining us next time. Thank you very much.